State Insurance Commissioner John Doak appeared before a United States Senate hearing this week to explain Oklahoma's health care crisis when it comes to the Affordable Care Act. U.S. senators are in a race against time to try and find a way to stabilize the ACA after Congress failed to replace it. At the same time, Oklahoma has applied for a federal waiver to salvage its health care marketplace, which is poised for collapse if something doesn't give. Plenty of Oklahomans, many of whom had never had health insurance before, gladly received it through the implementation of the Affordable Care Act in 2014. There were many health care plans available, provided by a number of different insurance carriers. But the ACA didn't work out as expected. Oklahoma Insurance Commissioner John Doak testified before United States senators this week that the Affordable Care Act has been a failure in Oklahoma.
It has created severe market disruptions without meaningful reduction in the number of uninsureds in our state. In 2014, our citizens chose plans from 5 different carriers on the federally facilitated marketplace. Those carriers sustained heavy losses, and by 2017, that number had dropped to only 1 carrier.
Blue Cross Blue Shield Oklahoma is the only insurance available to people who have or want to get health insurance under the ACA.
Over time, the insurance companies fell out because they were losing money on this. Now we have one who has clearly sent the message that in 2018, one will not be there.
Jan Feigert joined Commissioner Doak and many other stakeholders on a task force established by Oklahoma lawmakers at the request of Governor Mary Fallin to try and solve Oklahoma's health care insurance crisis. Feigert says if Blue Cross Blue Shield pulls out of the federal marketplace, 130,000 people who currently have ACA insurance in Oklahoma will be left in peril.
There are people in the middle of their cancer therapy that will be disrupted. There are surgeries that are planned for January 18th that will not be able to be carried out. There are people that will be in the middle of some level of therapeutics in some way for their back, for their fracture, that suddenly when there is no one in the marketplace providing insurance, it stops.
To salvage the insurance marketplace in Oklahoma, the task force produced a waiver application to the federal government. It's called the 1332 waiver, and it was spelled out in the Affordable Care Act that it could be used 5 years after the ACA was passed into law. Carly Putnam is an analyst with the Oklahoma Policy Institute.
It will authorize the state to use federal funding coming into the state under the Affordable Care Act to be creative in how the ACA is implemented.
Putnam says that if the waiver is granted, it would allow Oklahoma to implement a reinsurance plan. It would take the tax credits given directly to those on the federal marketplace and give that money to the state.
We are simply going to move it through the state and then realign those tax credits to better match the needs of the insurer and the individual that's being insured.
Feigert explains the state would use the federal dollars to offset risks taken by insurance carriers.
If I'm taking risk as an insurance company and I see that I'm taking 100% of the risk, I'm not likely, based on my past experiences, to jump back in this pool. If they see that somebody else is going to hold part of that risk, and in this case it's going to be the state through the state insurance commissioner, then I may look at my potential to serve in this community.
With the reinsurance program, it's estimated that insurance premiums would be reduced by 34%.
So we expect to see about 20 to 25,000 people, mostly at 400% of the federal poverty level and above, who would move into, who would become covered on the marketplace because the reinsurance program would make their premiums more affordable.
What Oklahoma is hoping to achieve is also being evaluated on Capitol Hill, where lawmakers are scrambling to come up with federal legislation that will stabilize the ACA for 1 year.
I am 100% in favor of all the funds coming to the state of Oklahoma, giving the state of Oklahoma, our legislature, our governor, and the people of Oklahoma the best ability to put together the best plan.
Leaders of the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee will continue hearings like this one into next week, with hopes of having a bipartisan solution before the end of this month, when insurance carriers must lock in the price of premiums.